Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The fanatic, you are impressed by their fervor and support of whatever cause, but at the key moment when they could possibly deliver what they have promised, they unexpectedly slip up. They become indecisive at the wrong moment, or burn themselves out and fall ill, or take such ill-conceived actions that it all falls apart. You will notice in their past some shifts in their belief system, sometimes radical. That is because it is not the particular belief that matters but the intense conviction, and so they will shift this around to fit the times. Believing something is like a drug for them. But the doubts return. They secretly know they cannot deliver the goods, and so under stress they become the opposite, indecisive and secretly doubtful. Never be taken in by the strength of people's convictions and their favor for drama. Always operate by the rule that the greater the stridency in what they say, the deeper the underlying insecurities and doubts. The rigid rationalist, all of us have irrational tendencies. We must have simply accept this. But for some people, this makes them terribly uncomfortable. They experience primitive thinking as softens, as mysticism, as contrary to science and technology. The repressed, however, always returns. Their faith in science and technology has a religious air to it. When it comes to an argument, they will impose their ideas with extra intellect, heft, and even a touch of anger, which reveals the stirring of the primitive within and the hidden emotional need to bully. They are also prone to strange shifts in mood and emotional outbursts as the shadow stares, but bait them into just such reactions to prick their bubble of intellectual superiority. The snob. These types have tremendous need to be different from others, to assert some form of superiority over the mass of mankind. They put a lot of emphasis on appearances. They are more alternative than others. Their tattoos are more unique. Of course, it later comes out that they were exaggerating or downright lying about their background. The truth is that banality is part of human existence. We all have mediocre sides to our character and skills. Snobs are especially sensitive about this, greatly insecure about their origins and possible mediocrity. Their way of dealing with this is to distract and deceive with appearances. So, as opposed to real originality in their work, surrounding themselves with the extraordinary and with special knowledge. The snob. In any case, those who are truly original and different do not need to make a great show of it. Be extra wary of those who go out of their way to make a show of their difference. The extreme entrepreneur. At first glance, these types seem to possess very positive qualities, especially for work. They maintain a very high standards and pay exceptional attention to detail. But underneath the facade, the seeds of failure are taking root. This first appears is their inability to listen to others. In fact, they mistrust those who do not have their same high standards. With success, they are forced to take on more and more responsibility. If they were truly self reliant, they would know the importance of delegating on a lower level to maintain control on their higher level. But something else is stirring within the shadow. Soon the situation becomes chaotic. Others must come in and take over the business. Their health and finances are ruined and they become completely dependent on doctors or outside finances. They go from complete control to total dependence on others. Often their outward show of self-reliance disguises a hidden desire to have others to take care of them. To regress to the dependency of childhood, they can never admit to themselves or show any signs of such weaknesses. But unconsciously, they are drawn to creating enough chaos that they break down and are forced into some form of dependency. There are signs beforehand. Recurring health issues, the sudden micro needs to be pampered by people in their daily lives, but the big sign comes as they lose control and fail to take steps to halt this. It is best to not get too entangled with such types later on in their careers, as they have a tendency to bring about much collateral damage. Okay, collateral damage. The integrated human. In the course of our lives, we inevitably meet people who appears to be especially comfortable with themselves. They display certain traits that help give this impression, they are able to laugh at themselves, they can admit to certain shortcomings in their character as well as to mistakes they have made. They have a playful, sometimes impish edge to them, as if they have retrained more of the child within. They can play their role in life with a little bit of distance. At times they can be charmingly spontaneous. What such people signal to us is a greater authenticity if most of us have lost a lot of our natural traits in becoming socialized adults. The authentic types have somehow managed to keep them alive and active. We are completely drawn to the authentic types and unconsciously repulsed by their opposite. The reason for this is simple. We all secretly mourn for the child part of our character we have lost the wildness, the spontaneity, the intensity of experience, or the open mind. Our overall energy is diminished by the loss. Those who emit that of being an adult who has managed to integrate the child and the adult, the dark and the light, the unconscious and the conscious mind. We yearn to be around them. Perhaps some of their energy will rub off on us, conscious of our shadow. We can control, channel, and integrate it. Aware of what we have lost, we can reconnect to the that part of ourselves that has sunk into the shadow. The following are four clear and practical steps for achieving this. See the shadow. The best way to begin is to look for indirect signs as indicated in the section above. For instance, take note of any particular one sided empathic traits in yourself. Assume that the opposite trait lies buried deep within, and from there, try to see more signs of this trait in your behavior. Look at your own emotional outbursts and moments of extreme touchiness. Your sensitivity to remark uh, or, moni- or imputation indicates a shadow quality that is stirring in the form of a deep insecurity. Bring it into the light. Look deeply at your tendencies to project emotions and bad qualities onto people you know, or even entire groups. Look at moments in your youth, late teens, early 20s, in which you acted in a rather insensitive or even cruel manner. Hmm. When you were younger, you had less control of the shadow and it came out more naturally, not within with the repressed force of later years. Take this process deeper by re-examining the earlier version of yourself. Look at traits in childhood that were drummed drummed out of you by your parents and peers, certain weaknesses or vulnerabilities or form of behavior, traits you were made to feel ashamed of. Look at emotions you were once prone to, things that sparked a sense of awe or excitement that has gone missing. You have become more like others as you have gotten older, and you must rediscover and lost authentic parts of yourself. Finally, look at your dreams as the most direct and clear view of your shadow. The shadow is talking to you in various ways. Don't look for symbols or hidden meanings. Pay attention instead to the emotional tone and overall feelings that they inspire. Holding on to them throughout the day, get in the habit of writing your dreams down and paying deep attention to their feeling tone. Embrace the shadow. Your natural reaction in uncovering and facing up to your dark side is to feel uncomfortable and maintain only a surface awareness of it. Your goal here must be the opposite, not only complete acceptance of the shadow but the desire to integrate it into your present personality. Explore the shadow. Consider the shadow as having depths that contain great creative energy. You want to explore these depths, which include more primitive forms of thinking and the darkest impulses that come out of our animal nature. The conscious thinking we depend on is quite limited, but the unconscious contains an almost limitless amount of material from memories in experiences and information absorbed in study after prolonged research or work on a problem When we relax our minds in dreams or while we are performing unrelated banal activities, the conscious begins to go to work and associate all sorts of random ideas, some of the more interesting ones bubbling to the surface. We all have dreams, intuitions, and free associations of ideas, but we often refuse to pay attention to them or take them seriously. Instead, you want to develop the habit of using this form of thought more often by having unstructured time and consider and pay serious attention to what comes to you in less conscious states of mind. In a similar vein, you want to explore from within your own darkest impulses, even those that might seem criminal, and find a way to express them in your work or externalize them in some fashion in a journal, for instance. Show the shadow. Most of the time, we secretly suffer from the endless social codes we have to adhere to. In following this path, we gain comfort by fitting in, but we also become defensive and secretly resentful at the same time. Our shadow will show itself, but unconsciously, in explosive fits and starts, and often to our detriment. It would be wise to look at those who are successful in their field. Inevitably, we will see that most of them are such much less bound by these codes. They are generally more assertive and overtly ambitious. They flout the conventions openly and proudly, and they are not punished but greatly rewarded. You pay a greater price for being so nice and differential than for consciously showing your shadow. First, to follow the latter path, you must begin by respecting your own opinions more and those of others less, particularly when it comes to your areas of expertise, to the field you have immersed yourself in. Second, get in the habit in your daily life of asserting yourself more and compromising less. Do this under control and at opportune moments. Third, start caring less what people think of you. Fourth, realize that at times you must offend and even hurt people who block your path, who have ugly values, who unjustly criticize you. Use such moments of clear injustice or to bring out your shadow and show it proudly. Fifth, feel free to play the impudent, willful child who mocks the stupidity and hypocrisy of others. Finally, flout the very conventions that others follow so scrupulously. In general, consider this a form of exorcism. Once you show these desires and impulses, they no longer lie hidden in corners of your personality, twisting and operating in secret ways. You have released your demons and enhanced your presence as an authentic human. In this way, the shadow becomes your ally. Mm. Unfortunately, there is no doubt about the fact that man is, as a whole, less good than he imagines himself or wants to be. Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. Carl Jung. Every time a friend succeeds, I die a little. Aeschylus. 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 Okay. For not for not many men can love a friend whose fortune prospers without envying, and about the envious brain, prison, cold poison clings and doubles all the pain. Life brings him his own woundings he must nurse, and feel another's gladness like a curse. Oh my god. 18 chapters I have. And I have studied, I have read till 9 chapter, right? Okay, so means 50% I have completed the book. There is more 50. 10 to 18. 9 chapters are left. Okay, so I think it's enough for today. Chapter 10. Beware the fragile ego. The law of envy. We humans are naturally compelled to compare ourselves with one another. We are continually measuring people's status, the levels of the respect and attention they receive, and noticing any difference between what we have and what they have. For some of us, this needs to be compare serves as a spur to excel through our work. For others, it can turn into deep envy, feelings of inferiority, and frustration that lead to covert attacks and sabotage. Nobody admits to acting out of envy. You must recognize the early warning signs, praise and bits for friendship that seem offensive, eh? Effusive, okay, effusive and out of proportion. Subtle digs at you under the guise of good-natured humor, apparent uneasiness with your success. It is most likely to crop up among friends or your peers in the same profession. Learn to deflect envy by drawing attention away from yourself. Develop your sense of self worth from internal standards and not in incessant comparisons. Okay. Develop your sense of self worth from internal standards and not incessant comparisons. Every time a friend succeeds, I die a little. Go with it. Keys to human nature. Of all the human emotions, none is trickier or more elusive than envy. It is very difficult to actually discern the envy that motivates people's actions or to even know that we have suffered an envy attack from another. This is what makes it so frustrating to deal with and so dangerous. The reason for this elusiveness is simple. We almost never directly express the envy we are feeling. If we feel anger toward people because of something they said or did, we may try to disguise our anger for various reasons, but we are aware that we are feeling hostile. But envy is very different. Your task as a student of human nature is to transform yourself into a master decoder of envy. You are ruthless in your analysis and your determination to get to the root of what motivates people. The signs that people emit of envy are harder to discern, but they exist, and you can master the language with some effort and subtle discernment. Think of it as an intellectual challenge. Before immersing yourself in the subtleties of the emotion, it is important to distinguish between passive and active envy. All of us in the course of a day will inevitably feel some pangs of envy as we unconsciously monitor the people around us and sense that they might have more. If these pangs arise to the level of consciousness and are a bit acute, we might say something hurtful or mean spirited as a way to vent the emotion, but generally, as we experience this passive form of envy, we do not do anything that would, in any meaningful way, harm the relationship with a friend or colleague. In detecting signs of passive envy in others, for instance, little put downs and offhand comments, you should simply tolerate this as a fact of being a social animal. Sometimes, however, this passive envy turns active. The underlying sense of inferiority is too strong, leading to hostility that cannot be vented by comment or put down. Your goal is to detect the signs of this more acute form of envy before it turns dangerous. You can do this in three ways: by learning the signs of envy that manage to leak through, by being aware of the types of people who are more prone to acting on envy, and by understanding the circumstances and actions that might trigger active envy in people. You can never see all of the actions motivated by envy. People are simply too good at disguising it. But using all three decoding devices will increase your chances of detection. Okay, grab your pen, boys. We are about to find out some signs of envy. Although the signs are subtle, envious feelings tend to leak out and can be detected if you are observant. Seeing one such sign in isolation might indicate passive or weak envy. You want to look for combinations of repetitions of the following signs, a pattern, before moving to alert mode. Micro expressions. When people first experience envy, they have not yet fooled themselves into thinking it is something else, and so they are more prone to leakage than later on. That is why first impressions are often the most accurate and should be given added weight in this case. Envy is most associated with the eyes. Okay, the eyes and first impressions. You will notice the envier's eyes momentarily boring into you. Okay, with a look that suggests disdain and a touch of hostility. Okay, with this look, the corners of the mouth will often be turned down. The nose in a sneering, somewhat unperturbed position. The chin jutting down. Okay. Although the look will be a little too direct and held a little too long. Okay, it still will not last more than a second or two. It is usually fooled with a strained fake smile. Okay, often you will see the look by accident as you suddenly turn your head their direction, or you will feel their eyes burning into you without directly looking at them. We can feel. If you see such looks in the first few encounters with someone and they happen more than once, be on the lookout for a dangerous envier entering your life. If you see such looks in the first few encounters with someone and they happen more than once, be on the lookout for a dangerous envier entering your life. Poisonous praise. Okay, praise. Backbiting, the push and pull. Poisonous praise. A major envy attack is often preceded by little envy bites, offhand comments expertly designed to get under your skin. Confusing paradoxical praise is a common form of this. You feel confused, they have praised you, but in a way what makes you uncomfortable. These comments will also come at moments chosen to cause maximum doubt and damage. For instance, just when you have heard the good news and feel a flush of joy. Poisonous praise almost always indicates envy. They feel the need to praise. But what dominates is the underlying hostility. If they have a habit of praising in this way, if you experience it several times, it is probably an indication of something more intense stirring with them. Backbiting. If people like to gossip, particularly about common acquaintances, you can be sure they will gossip about you, and gossip is a frequent cover for envy. Okay, a convenient way to vent it by sharing malicious rumors and stories. If you ever get wind of a story they have spread about you, subtly or not so subtly negative, only one such instance should be enough to raise your antennae. What indicates active envy in this case is that they are your friend and they feel the need to vent their underlying hostility to a third party rather than keep it to themselves. In any event, serial gossipers do not make loyal and trustworthy friends. In any event, serial gossipers do not make any okay. Serial gossipers do not make any loyal and trustworthy friends. The push and pull. Enviers often use friendship and intimacy as the best way to wound the people they envy. Through the closeness they establish, they are able to gather material on you and find your weak points. Suddenly, after your emotions are engaged, they criticize you in pointed ways. The criticism is confusing, not particularly related to anything you have done, but still you feel guilty. They then return to their initial warmth. You are trapped between the warm friendship and the occasional pain they inflict. Oh. In criticizing you, they are experts at picking out any possible flaws in your character or words you might have regretted and giving them great emphasis when you have had enough and decide to defend yourself or criticize them or break off the friendship. They can now ascribe to you a mean or even cruel streak and tell others of this. You will notice in their past other intense relationships with the dramatic backups always the other person's fault. At, and at the source of this pattern, the yes, and at the source of this pattern, something hard to discern is that they choose to befriend people with whom they envy for some quality, then subtly torture them. Okay. In general, criticism of you that seems sincere but not directly related to anything you have actually done is usually a strong sign of envy. People want to bully and overwhelm you with something negative, both wounding you and covering any tracks of envy. Wow. I'm traumatized, man. So yeah, that's it for today. See you tomorrow. And next time we will start from, envier types. See ya. That's it for today.